going on, guys? Back with another episode of the Philly Steak Show. Follow me on Twitter. Name is in the video. You probably are watching on Twitter if you're watching because we do not get any YouTube views. Steve, what's going on?
Yeah. I'm just, still grieving the Super Bowl loss. I feel like I the one that got away, but you got to move on.
Yeah.
Got to keep moving, but better than last week.
Yeah, it sucks. It's tough.
Time heals all, I suppose.
I'll be out in LA next week.
That's right.
Yes, we'll have the show. Unfortunately, but before I get out there, we could have done the dual. Hey, we could always push to Thursday and do a stream together if you want to do that.
We should do an LA stream when you're out here, even just a quick little video on like Friday.
Yeah, just a bonus. We'll do something, a little something. But we'll keep with the Wednesday schedule. But I know we got some stuff to talk about. Eagles off season is kind of underway here.
Mm-hmm.
Last week was grieving the Super Bowl, right? And we were all still kind of just thinking about that. But now we're, no days off. Now we're down to business. Now we got coaches on the move. We got, obviously people are already talking about the draft, talking about free agency, talking about who's going to re-sign. So we're not going to talk about all that stuff in this show. But what do we have on tap?
Yeah, obviously you got Shane Steichen to the Colts and Gannon to Zona.
What is with the Colts and our old coaches, man? Like, I understand the Steichen thing because Sirianni worked for the Colts.
Yeah.
So he must have given some sort of a recommendation, right? But Frank Reich was kind of just like, well, I guess they're just going to take the next best guy after the first guy said no to them. It was Josh McDaniels. So, I guess they're going with another Eagles head coach.
Yeah, honestly, if I was a coach, Joe, I got to say the Colts and Arizona are probably the two least intriguing opportunities. The Colts, Jim Irsay is just a nut. He thought that Matt Ryan was going to put them over the top when they didn't have any play after because he was so unhinged from the Wentz debacle, which Wentz didn't play great, but he wasn't really that bad there. There was other issues. Okay, so maybe they blunder, don't get in the playoffs. So what are they going to do in the playoffs? Lose in the first round anyway? It was a bad collapse, but it's just I just don't. So I'm praying for Shane Steichen to figure it out, but that ownership's just a mess. And then no one wants to go to Arizona because of Kyler Murray. So a coordinator is going to look to that and be like, okay, well, if I can fix Kyler Murray, I'm definitely going to get a head coaching job because obviously Jonathan Gannon's going to defer all that to the coordinator. So it's a good coordinator opportunity, probably not a good head coaching opportunity. So
to be honest, I think just, to wrap up the Colts and the Cardinals, I think the Colts problem is they need to draft a quarterback, and the Cardinals problem is they have a quarterback with a lot of potential. However, he kind of regressed mentally, it seems. He's become more standoffish and less of a leader as time has gone on. I actually loved Kyler Murray his first 2 seasons in the NFL. However, the last 2 have been just a downwards. They made the playoffs last year in 2021, but it seemed like last season it just kind of went downhill as the time went on, and they had that hot start in 2021, and ever since they kind of flipped to the other side and kind of had some adversity, he's just not answered. So we'll see what happens with both those our old coordinators becoming head coaches. But man, some of those Jonathan Gannon videos were super awkward, dude. I've been watching those so much just to be like, you know what? This isn't our problem anymore. I could laugh at this goof.
Yeah, it's like watching an ex significantly downgrade, and it's just well, at least he's not here anymore, and it makes you feel better. It's just well, no wonder he didn't blitz in the Super Bowl. This guy's a goober. So I'm excited. I'm excited he's gone. But but Kyler Murray is he's not there yet because he can still play and contribute. But it's kind of like a Ben Simmons situation you got going on.
Yeah. It's goofy. And Jonathan Gannon couldn't make it anymore. Just he just gives me gosh, if I'm wrong about this, then I really don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, then we might have to rebrand the show to a cooking show or something.
Seriously, I'd be better off. He does not give me head coaching vibes at all. And
No.
People have their criticisms of him here and there, and I guess we can talk about a little bit what we think is going to kind of happen with the team. Do you think they're in any sort of big danger for losing Steichen and Gannon? I'm not really worried at all. Like, I don't think we have anything to worry about losing those guys. I think the team is so talented. Jalen Hurts gives me such confidence that I
Yeah.
just feel like the offense will be fine hiring Brian Johnson. I think we're going to upgrade even to just because
Yeah.
Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts have such a strong rapport with each other. There's not going to be a drop off, in my opinion. And if anything, there might be an upgrade. And Jonathan Gannon, I mean, like, I just think it's a good chance for us to kind of get a new feel for what we
Yeah.
can do on the defensive side of the ball. Just something different.
I agree. I think the Shane Steichen situation, it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But obviously, Jalen Hurts probably gave a big endorsement for Johnson. So I mean, that speaks a lot. And I think promoting him is going to kind of keep somewhat of that continuity there, which is certainly what you want on offense. Very unlikely that Johnson's going to go nuts and get poached in 1 year. He might have a great season, but I mean, you never know.
Hopefully not, because the
Yeah.
story behind him and Jalen Hurts, right? They've known each other. Brian Johnson has known Jalen Hurts since he was a kid.
Yeah.
He's friends with the Hurts family, so they have the kind of connection that you can't really teach. It's not anything. It's just the years, just the tenure is insane. To know a kid, see him grow up, watch him from a young age, and now working together. I feel like, if anything, we go up, and I hope we don't get him poached after a year. I would hope he just wants to stay here, but I wouldn't blame him for wanting to be a head coach, because he probably could be. Honestly, he's one of the bright young minds, or just bright minds. I'm not actually sure of his age, and I don't want to guess, but I think he's a younger guy, close to.
I believe he's 29.
Brian Johnson, no way he's 29. No.
36.
36? Yeah. Super young guy.
Yeah.
Super young guy.
Very
Huge
young.
Future in football. Bright future in football. He's definitely a guy that is going to be a hot candidate after next year, because I'm telling you, this offense with Jalen Hurts and Brian Johnson at the helm, it's just going to be such a – and obviously Sirianni has a great relationship with them too. So, I hope, that they just keep that up. I hope that Sirianni doesn't feel boxed out, if anything, because I feel like Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts are so close, so on the same page, that, I think there's, a lot of room for Sirianni. And you know what? Another thing that I want to talk about here, we know the effects on the team, specifically, but what about the effects on the head coach when he loses both his coordinators that he kind of handpicked, right? And now the guys they bring in might be suggestions from elsewhere. You think Nick Sirianni is the one endorsing Jesse Minter from Michigan, or Jim Leonard from Wisconsin, or Sean Desai? There's not a high chance that Nick Sirianni has his hand as much in the pot with picking this next leader that he did with the first guys, right? So I think there's a chance for Nick Sirianni to grow, mature, and become an even greater leader, because he's going to have to work with guys that he doesn't necessarily have a ton of familiarity with, or at least as much as he did with Gannon and Steichen. So I think that's going to show a lot about Nick Sirianni in this next year, is how good of a coach and a leader is he really. Is he a guy that can adapt and work? And that's all we've seen from him, is he gave up play calling, right? He gave up the play calling to better manage the game. He helped build an offense, or was, the primary piece to building an offense that fit around a quarterback that they said wasn't going to be an NFL kind of quarterback. You go out and you get these pieces, and Sirianni's obviously the one drawing it up, and so we've seen him be able to do all the things you need to do. The last box checked to me is going to be when things start to change, when the team starts to change, when the coaching staff starts to change, you have success. How do you handle all that? Do you stay the same guy and get better, or do you do kind of what we saw, unfortunately, Doug Peterson do after his large pinnacle of success? Things started to change and the team fell apart. And we don't want to see that right now. So hopefully they have guys in place that are in it for the long haul, especially because they didn't win the Super Bowl. We're going to need him to stay locked in and get one.
Yeah.
Peterson at least won the Super Bowl before he had his complete meltdown. So I wonder if the Eagles would have lost that Super Bowl to the Patriots, if Peterson still would have kind of been feeling himself, or he would have like been a little more of a hard worker. I don't really know. I have no idea, but we're going to see what kind of hard worker Nick Sirianni and this team is. And they talk about it a lot, right? Mm-hmm. They talk about it a lot, but we've seen teams fall off after Super Bowls, whether it's a loss or a win. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what these guys are made of.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the offense will be, some adjustments there, but I think they'll make them. In defense, that the Gannon scheme is very simple. I felt the success was largely on the players this year, particularly, secondary was great, but the D line, I mean, the front four just cooked.
Mm-hmm. So he relied on that so much.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. He didn't really have an answer to respond to that. So, and better quarterbacks are better against any sort of pressure. So, disguising coverages, things like that. I'm not going to get too into the X's and O's. But everyone gets the idea. It seemed as if he was relying a lot on the talent on the field, and that becomes a little bit more clear when you think about the whole tenure. But 2 years with these guys, and now they're gone because of that big leap we took. So hopefully they bring in guys that can kind of change up the team, and I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of excited for it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I am too. I'm excited to see, what they do with the defense. I think they have a really good base of talent. And now we can kind of okay, obviously we're going to re-sign CJ Gardner-Johnson. So how, maybe we're putting him in more position where he's kind of playing to his strengths, coming up in the box more, rushing the quarterback, sort of like a Malcolm Jenkins kind of player. And then you get, you have your, Bradbury might be leaving. I'm sure they're going to restructure Slay, but then you have the D line, you have Nakobe Dean that they're probably going to want him to play next year. Yeah. So you have all these pieces in place. Now it's like, well, we can restructure the defense. You have 5 or 6 guys that are starters that are coming back that are legitimate good starters. And you have some other players that you can come in and kind of play the strength for. There's going to be a lot more Jordan Davis next year for sure. Yeah. There's going to be, so I'm really excited to see how they cater this to their strengths and where you can kind of, bargain shop for maybe another linebacker, kind of what we did with Kaiser White. Maybe it's getting a corner in the draft to kind of, balance out that secondary money because you're going to extend Johnson. You're paying Slay a lot of money. So I'm really excited to see how they fine tune the defense.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Just getting weapons and using some of these versatile guys more versatilely, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you brought up a good point. CJ is a great coverage guy. He got his interceptions, but why not have him fly around in the box a little bit? He's a really willing tackler. He could be one of those delayed blitz kind of guys where, you bring him in late, comes in last second, flies in untouched. And we've seen Malcolm Jenkins do things like that. Another guy that I would compare CJ to is the guy that the Saints picked to play or to pay and keep instead of him was Tyrann Mathieu, a big free agent. We wanted him as fans. And then when the Saints picked him up, we said, okay, then give us CJ. And they were like, well, I guess we can't pay CJ too. So they gave us CJ, and that's the kind of player he can be, is that versatile Swiss Army knife in the back of your defense that really does a little bit of everything. And then, like you said, bargain shopping for, everyone's like, oh, they're going to lose so many players. It's like, yeah, but Howie does that every year. He plugs every single hole. We go into every season and we're like, look, our starters are really good and we have some depth. Every year, it's like, I don't need to question him anymore. He's going to find cap casualties around the league, guys that are on rookie deals that teams don't want to pay, that they feel like a CJ. He makes trades, he makes moves. He doesn't sit idle and let things just kind of steamroll, especially when he knows that this is a team that has a chance to compete. So I'm super excited for how he's going to plug this defense up, because the offense is pretty set. And you're not hearing much about offensive coordinator interviews because there's nothing to really report. The offense is going to pretty much stay the same. They're going to get back to work. It's really about kind of adjusting this defense and getting back and being able to stop some of those top passing units in the league. I mean, you've seen them get stopped before. The Eagles just didn't stop them. So that's goal number one for the offseason, I think. And it's going to be all about that.
No, I agree, and it's definitely an exciting time. Going into free agency and kind of just figuring out like how is this team going to get better. And
Yeah,
I think that they're in a very good position to do so. They have a lot of they're going to have cap. They're going to extend Hurts, but his cap hit's not going to really start being a factor till the following season.
right.
So you got a really good opportunity in front of you for the next 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, and beyond that. But at least in like the very short term,
This
with
is
all the players on the payroll, you're
Mhm.
looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone's sort of. I've seen, my ear always to the fans and to critics even, and everyone's talking about, obviously the players that are free agents. And I still sit back and I'm like, look, we got Jalen Hurts. We have an elite offensive line that's going to be the same next year, minus our worst guy, plus one of our best prospects in Cam Jurgens. We have
Mhm.
the same receivers. We have the same tight end. We have to replace Miles Sanders, who arguably was up and down during his career, had a great year, but everyone would say if there's one skills position player that starts on our offense that could be replaced, even upgraded potentially,
Mhm.
unfortunately, it would probably be the running back.
Yeah.
So um, I just think that the sky's the limit for the offense. They're going into year two. Look what they did in year one. It's like Jalen Hurts. Have you ever seen a guy in Philly? I mean, around the league is one thing, but in Philly specifically, that came in and connected and built chemistry with an offense the way Jalen Hurts did this offseason into this season. I mean, it's like you'd think these guys were playing together for 5 years.
Yeah. No, I mean they got him a lot of new pieces, and he, you know, I mean, I know we talked about this off stream, but I mean, even after 2021, like we were like, this guy can play.
Yeah,
He's not like these. I mean, he's throwing the ball to these bums, Rager, and he's extending plays. We're seeing the RPOs, so it's like his elevation this year of like getting confidence in the receiver and him putting in all that work. You can see he's throwing better balls, but it is a little different when AJ Brown's going up than Jalen Rager. However, he was throwing dimes. He was throwing dimes all over the field in the Super Bowl.
yeah,
That was probably the best game he played all season, which is
yeah,
crazy.
insane. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was going crazy in the Super Bowl. I mean, you look back to that Giants game in 2021 that Rager has the ball come
Yeah.
here and kind of like it hits his helmet. And then you watch this year and he throws the same ball to AJ Brown in tighter coverage against the Pittsburgh Steelers twice
Yeah.
down the same sideline in the end zone with this much room to put it there. And AJ Brown, like last second, just casually lets it drop into his hands. You couldn't even make that play last year
Yeah.
because of your receivers. And now he's trusting his receivers. He's confident. I think the sky is the limit for that unit. If they keep that team together for as long as the NFL is a not for long thing, and the way the salary cap is, and the way that they've perfected the model of parity in the NFL, you're not going to keep a team. It's rare to see the same team stay together for a long time. This team has a chance to stay together for 3 years. That's as good a chance you're going to get in the
Yeah.
NFL. And then you have to hope your quarterback is really like that when guys start leaving, because second contract AJ Brown going to be closer to 30. Devontae Smith's going to come up at the same time. How do you pay $100 million plus to two receivers? You probably can't. So eventually we're losing one of those guys. You're going to look like I can't even think about 3 years down the road what the team's going to look like. But I know for the next 3 years, like you said, we hope that for beyond that, but for the next 3 years, you could see this same team playing in their prime together. And that's as good a chance you're going to get to win a Super Bowl is this next 3 years. We had one already. We had one ahead of schedule. We had like a mulligan in the chamber and we blew it and we didn't win. But we're going to have 3 years. Like if we would have lost in the conference championship this year, and we would be saying Super Bowl next year, right? We would be like, no, we're going to win that game next year. You know what I mean? But we lost the Super Bowl, so there's a little bit of a no. This team, 3 years from that, I mean, it's barring health, barring all that, offensive line, offense stays together. This is your best. You're going to be your best chance, and we'll see what happens. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
Plugging the defense up, but this offense is so well built, and you know that they're going to be putting work in. You know Jalen Hurts is who he is, and it just feels like it's different than 2017. It feels different.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how they do it. But you have such a good core in place. I just only see the team getting better, which is scary for a lot of teams. Is that they're going to get better. And Sanders put up on a story that he kind of wants to stay in the Philly. I just don't see it happening unless
he takes a really, really cheap deal. And honestly, if the Eagles struck a cheap deal with Miles Sanders to keep him around, I still think they go out and pick up another running back, because it's probably, if Miles Sanders' market is so bad that he wants to sign in Philly for 1 year, then you still need another running back. You're not going to sit there and say that's our guy when you just paid him a really cheap deal to keep him in town. Out of just the fact that his market is so bad, you're not going to go and be he's our starter, he's our guy. I still could see them adding a running back and having a backfield of Kenny Gainwell, Miles Sanders, someone else, but I don't even think that's going to happen. I mean, I'm already shaking my head while I'm saying it's not. I don't believe it. I don't.
It's not.
Naturally, no.
Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, I mean, I think they get one in the second or third round of the draft, but
I think they could look into that. The running back class is robust. I don't know. I think Miles Sanders might get a little bit more than what we want to pay him.
Yeah.
I don't know what the market's going to be like, but we'll have to see about that. I know we're going to talk about that stuff as it comes up, but
exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, the offense doesn't necessarily need to put much resource into that. I mean, and a second round pick is a lot, you know what I mean? But if you get a guy that's a stud, better than picking some bum, right? At least he's good.
Yeah.
So if you get a guy that you go out and get Jameer, if they end up getting Jameer Gibbs from Alabama, their running back, it's this team is unfair how many Alabama guys they have.
Well, I mean, you could get a guy on the rookie contract, and that helps. I mean, what the Eagles have been doing well the past couple of seasons, they haven't done years past, is they're drafting well. Howie's finessing these contracts where he can get guys at the end of their deals and then extend them, and then we're reloading the draft. I feel like a lot of our players that we draft, we're not which is the luxury of being good, is we're not throwing them into the fire right away. Right. Granted, JJ and Jalen Reagor just could not play football, so I'm not really looking at the receivers, but our linemen, we got guys, we were on the O line, we're drafting guys in the higher rounds, later rounds, developing them. D-line, we're doing the same. I mean, Milton Williams is continuing to improve every year. Josh Sweat was kind of a project, and he got instrumentally better. Of course, Malata is kind of an outlier. That's but done either way. But it's really cool to see them starting to continue to recoup these prospects and get these guys into the NFL program, eating well, training, learning the system, and going out there and really contributing the following year. So
a video came out today of an NFL analyst breaking down the players that the Eagles are talking about, kind of similar things we're talking about, is they're losing players. And he said, look, they redshirted 3 draft picks, their first 3 draft picks. Ken Jurgens didn't play all year. He's either your starting center or your starting guard. So you're not losing on the all offensive line, and I think Kelsey comes back. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And then you got Jordan Davis, the first round pick, and then Nakobe Dean, his teammate. And both of those guys didn't play a lot.
No.
They were behind starters, and they didn't need to. And now you have them coming into their second seasons as pros, like you said, getting in an NFL program, and they're going to be relied upon more this year. But when you talk about losing players, like you said, Howie has backfilled this team through the draft, and that's something that you have to do to stay good in the NFL, because contracts get to a point where players leave, the salary cap, it's all about parity in the NFL. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The better teams, the good teams now, they're going to have a harder time staying good than bad teams are going to have getting good if the right moves are made. So you see teams that are not that great right now. Well, they're going to get the best draft picks. They're going to they have the most money because they're not paying really good players. So they're going to get good, and it's all cycles. So the Eagles right now, it's you're in this first cycle, but if you have the right coach, the right quarterback, and then the right GM that's drafting well and finding those bargain deals every year, you can put a competitive team on the field every year. And the Eagles have the core, they have the foundation. It's all about hitting those draft picks. And they have the last, you look at Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, that's their top 3 from 2021. last year was they used a first rounder that they got in a trade for AJ Brown, amazing pickup. And then they used the draft to actually draft Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and Cam Jurgens. And those guys sat a full year. So we don't really, well, Jordan Davis played, but, and Nakobe got some flashes. Cam Jurgens didn't play at all, really, like, maybe in blowouts, if that. But we all saw them. We saw flashes from Cam in the preseason. Jason Kelsey endorsed them. Feel like those guys are going to be another good draft class. So you have 2 in a row now. You're building momentum. You have 2 first-round picks again, 1 in the top 10. I mean, he's done a masterful job with getting better at something that he was criticized for early in this whole restart after Chip Kelly, and then how he comes in. And a lot of the talk was about how he's not really a good drafting guy. Marcus Smith got pinned on him, and him and Chip Kelly were not seeing eye to eye, and they just said, well, okay, we'll take him. And, you know, and that's just not – that's not the kind of relationship you want to have in your front office and your head coach. And then I think when Doug came, I think there was a little bit of a disconnect. Me personally, I've always had this theory that Doug Peterson wasn't as hands-on and involved with guiding and being really like what Andy Reid was for the Eagles and what he is for the Chiefs. He's really, really into the whole draft process and all that. And I feel like Nick Sirianni is a little more into it than Doug Peterson was. And I feel like we're able to get better players. I mean, we're picking guys from Alabama finally. Like, it would be like, thank God, you know? Like, so, like, I feel like that's a lot of just the culture they're building. I feel like after Joe Douglas and all that was gone, they were like, look, we're going to pick the best players. We're going to take them from the top schools. We're going to take guys that fit what we're trying to do. Athleticism, size, physical traits, yes. IQ, yes. Like, they are really getting into these prospects. And I think they've done a great job over the last 2 years. So let's keep that going.
Yeah.
I know this show kind of went from coaching to draft to all everywhere, but we got a lot more coming too in the future. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for moves to be made so we can break those down, because we're speculating right now. It's all speculation, which is
all speculation, which is part of the fun.
It's hard and it's fun. Yeah,
it is. But we're moving forward. We're picking up the pieces, and we got free agency start like March 10th, around there, something like that.
I think it's the 15th. I want to say. It's slipping me now, but I'm excited. I'm very excited for player acquisition start. But really, getting these head coaches, or I'm sorry, these coordinators, get these guys hired. Give us an announcement so we can start looking at the scouting combine is next week. So that's going to be something cool for us to break down on the show. I think it might start Thursday, though, so we might be a little like a week delayed. But we can start talking about some prospects maybe next week to watch at the combine and things like that. So we got a lot in store.
We do. So we're gonna keep it going.
Yeah. Is that are we wrapping for the show here?
I think so. I got nothing else to say. I mean, I'm still mourning, but I'm excited for the future. And like we said, man, it's looking bright, and they're going to keep this thing rolling and sustain this run. And Jason Kelsey's coming back for one more year, and they're going to win the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Because that's the script the NFL wants.
Yep, that's got to be it. Jason Kelsey back to the bowl, scripted, hand him the script going into training camp, get this done. And, we'll see what happens. But, like Steve said, Super Bowl, taking the loss on the chin, sucks. But we'll bounce back. A lot of fun things this offseason. It's finally an offseason we're going into with an identity, with some sort of feeling of confidence and something to look forward to. And we're not thinking about any real big-time rehabs or, no ACL tears that happened last year that we're like, oh, man, we really got to hope that this guy comes back the same. Or we're just going into this offseason clear-minded. Everything's in front of us, and we're just attacking it, working, and getting better. So I know that's going to be the mindset of this team, and I can't wait to see what they do this offseason. It's going to be a really fun summer and a really fun spring. Yeah. And before we know it, we'll be back at the home opener.
That's right. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
All right, guys. Well, fly, Eagles, fly. Thanks for tuning in. Whoever popped in for 3 seconds, 4 seconds. If you're watching this whole thing, thank you. If you're watching it after, thank you. We will be back. Follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m.
No. 4 p.m. Pacific. Nothing else to say, guys. Good chat. Good chat.
All right.
Go, baby.